The first is Officer Monaco's workers' compensation settlement, and there has been a discussion about accepting Officer Monaco's workers' compensation claim in the amount of $25,075.44. And if approved, it would include a retroactive payment of $2,411.10, the remainder to be paid on a weekly basis. Is there a motion to accept that claim in the form I just stated?
Okay, I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion about the claim? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The second item is the settlement agreement between the Fire Commission and Inland Wetlands. This has been a case that we've been following for quite a while. Both commissions have worked diligently and in good faith to come up with a compromise. I think it was very difficult for both commissions. There are very strong feelings on both sides, and I do want to commend the members of the commissions and the fire department for working hard to put aside those very strong feelings and come to an agreement. We have discussed the agreement, and I would like to entertain a motion that the board accept the agreement. I think it's very important because of the hard work that's gone into it, and because we will avoid additional attorney's fees. Remember that these are two town agencies that are in a lawsuit against each other, so the town is responsible for the attorney's fees. We've been fortunate up until now. One of the parties has had pro bono work, the other one has not, but there could be significant additional fees. We also want to acknowledge that in this agreement and in our approval of it, should we approve it, there will be, the patio structure will be within the 100-foot buffer that was passed by the Board of Selectmen, with the proviso that there could be a structure within the 100-foot buffer if approved by the Board of Selectmen. We are not sure that a patio is a structure. We are not sure that the action by the Board of Selectmen was actually effective because it was a land use decision. Nevertheless, to the extent it is in effect, by accepting this agreement, the board is acknowledging and approving this structure within the 100-foot buffer. So all that said, I would ask for I do want to make clear that both commissions have now approved this and agreed to the language. So is there a motion by this board to approve the agreement, including the pieces in the 100-foot buffer?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Any discussion or questions?
I just want to make just to clarify one thing you just said, that when you're referring to the 100-foot buffer, that was action taken by the Board of Selectmen a number of years ago.
That's correct.
Not this board or any recent board.
Yes. And also to clarify that it's the 100-foot buffer to the path on the Fitzgerald property. It has nothing to do with inland wetlands or the upland review area.
Well, to
Yes,
that
thank
point, I also agree that that was created by the Board of Selectmen in an effort to help pass the approval of the fire station, and due to that fact, that I do not feel I have the right to overturn that, which I consider is a large part of the referendum at the time, to get the firehouse passed. I would be voting against it.
Anything else? We'll take a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. The third item from executive session was the our health benefit renewal contract, and we had a brief discussion in executive session. Brian Luciani, our consultant, is here to talk about the renewal contract.
I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'll just go over some of the basics again. We had been in negotiations since the later part of December. As we typically do, we try to time claim months so that we're in the best negotiating position possible. We did very well this year. I believe we have what I would refer to as a below market renewal. I've asked you as the board to give Ellen the authorization to sign the renewal as offered. In the packet I've given you, I've just given you a little bit of history, since some of you are new to the board and I've been doing this for quite some time. what our increases have been. I went back to 2008. But for those of you who have businesses or familiar with what's been going on in our world, between Tony, myself, and others who've worked on this, and in particular, a contract we did, 2 Julys ago, Tony, for the HRA?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, I think. now.
Some of the pertinent facts are, we haven't had a double-digit increase since well before 2008. And based on our new contract we use, which is health reimbursement arrangement and some minor changes in prescription management, we right now only pay 2% more than we did in 2008, and actually 7% less than we did in 2010. So we're in good shape, and not much else. I mean, I'll be happy to answer any questions, but in terms of where we stand, unlike a lot of other municipalities who are facing double-digit increases, we haven't, and based on 2008, we're really only 2% higher.
Anyone?
Well, I make a motion that we approve for Ellen or Tony, I'm not sure, Ellen to sign the, or execute the renewal with Anthem as presented by our insurance professional.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks,
Brian.
All right, liaison reports. Joe?
No, I don't have
No. Tony?
Okay. Let's see.
Okay, I'll start with Coop-Pop. They did cancel last night and actually haven't met since I've been a liaison. I think their last meeting was December 3rd, but they do have a planned meeting on May 6th, and they did take part, or some of the members did take part in the meeting with TP&Z and Conservation on the 26th of March to discuss part of the 10-year plan as particular the CCW in that plan. Conservation met on the 20th of March. Their next meeting is the 17th of April. They had a very long discussion about 902 Baldwin Road. Cindy Anger and Jim Urbano from the Land Trust were guests and spoke and were part of the conversation. At that time, after a long conversation, the Conservation Commission felt, as far as going forward with the CFPP grant, hopefully that grant they're hoping might provide them an opportunity to buy the land rights or development rights of the land. The commission decided to table it until next month and have a longer discussion. They didn't feel they had enough time to look at some of the documents and take a better look at that, so they did table that till the April meeting. There was a couple of points made about the UI trimming and what impact that might have, and they wanted to take a look at that, and they're doing that this month. Discussion as to the meeting that they had with TP&Z and Coop-Pop, and they had a discussion about going back to a point earlier made for the future of all filings to, as far as property findings, to go to town hall and to be recorded. Part of the problem with this whole issue with where are the records is there was no real set form that they were following. There was no set series of events to actually file it and who to file it with. So they're putting that in motion. They're going to make and discuss with Town Hall the best way to do that. And for the future, every bit of information they look as far as property findings and that type of thing, they plan on filing with the town and have it kept record-wise with the town. And then the last thing is Betsy was performing as the secretary on duty, and she apparently is going to be doing so from now on at the conservation, so that was a great help to them because they didn't have a person doing it and they were kind of rotating who was doing secretary. Lastly was recreation. They met on the 24th of March. Their next meeting is the 28th of this month. They had Colleen and Clema and Terry Schatz in. Those are the two ladies who were helping to put together the playground. They gave a very long discussion on the playground and certain aspects of the playground that the recreation had some questions. There was some talk and a lot of questions about, there's been some changes to where on the property, actually it's kind of changed twice, to where on the property the playground is going. Recreation had some questions about that, asking if land trust should be involved. Also, there was a few minor changes to different aspects of the playground as I saw it, as we saw it that day. They questioned on whether or not they had permission and would like this is Ms. Kleinman and Ms. Schatz would like a clarification from the board on what exactly we passed. I did go back to the minutes. I think it's pretty clear about changes, but we could have that discussion. There has been some minor changes made, and the location of where the playground has changed dramatically. So, and it actually has changed twice. So we might want to take a look at that and just have them clarify a few back and forth.
How can the location change?
Well, originally it was supposed to be up, at least that's the way it was felt, up in the field. It used to be the parking lot when the firemen held their carnival above. It was up kind of off to the right, and then it got down to the left, to the bottom where we had the containers, and actually we moved those containers. Recreation had to move those containers, but now it's been moved up higher towards the fields and almost up against the fields because they thought that gave them a better even ground, even though they are going to have to smooth it out. But they apparently now added a netting so that lacrosse balls and things like that won't come in. They want to put a netting across it. There was some other little, it's just something I think that should be discussed. In any case, Recreation had some concerns, and after that they had a talk about the pool Beecher and some of the upcoming changes. As you know, the project's going to be starting over soon, hopefully, but basically over the summer. So they've been able to work out some details as when and when not they'll be able to use the pool. They won't have total access as they've had in the past. So there was some talk about how they would handle that. And then the last thing, they had a long conversation about the CCW marketing and the 2 open houses. As Ellen mentioned, the first one was this Sunday. A few of us were there, and it seemed to go very well, at least received well by the people who came. And there will be another open house coming up in May. And that's it.
Thank you.
March 10th, Board of Fire Commissioners was canceled. They had another special meeting on March 18th. It was pretty much executive session to discuss the settlement with inland wetlands, so I did not attend that. I did also attend the Fire Safety Day, and I was, Barbara is one of my dear friends, and it was in memory of Eva, and it was very moving to her again. I hope the fire department continues it. And the next meeting is on April 21st. On March 20th, I attended a special joint meeting of the Conservation Commission, Town P&Z, and COPOP. Members from all 3 commissions met to discuss and receive input regarding the future of the Country Club of Woodbridge from each other, not the public. It was the consensus of the group that we should keep a maximum amount of open space, whether it is a golf course that is financially feasible or just open space. It was also the consensus of the group, and this group again is just members of these 3 commissions, that we sell some part of the property to use for over 55 housing. It was also brought up as to what piece of the property should be sold for use of over 55 housing, and the consensus again was that it should be the piece along Woodfield Road. Regarding reaching consensus for the clubhouse, most comments were that there was not enough information for the costs necessary to repair it, but maybe we should find a town use for it or rent it out for an outside use, one example being some kind of educational use. It was also the consensus of the group that we keep the pool for town resident use. I was unable to attend the April 7th meeting. I was out of town, Yankees. Their next meeting is on May 5th.
Thank you, Beth.
Yep.
Laura?
I'll give an opening day.
First, I apologize to the board for my late arrival this evening. And after having missed all of the Beecher Road School excitement, I wouldn't presume to add about what's going on there. But I will report on the Amity Regional Board of Education. At its last meeting, a revised preliminary budget was approved with significant impact to the 3-member towns, and that was a rather lengthy debate among members of that board. But in the time since, I understand there have been some adjustments made by the regional district to soften the impact on member towns. And And so I guess at the regional board's next meeting, that budget will receive final approval and then go to the voters as was suggested on May 6th. And that's the biggest news there is the budget development process. And In the Heights is running right now, and I can't be objective about it because I've been part of the sibling shuffle back and forth to rehearsals, but boy, oh boy, what a show. And
Everybody's saying it.
I'm going. You don't go tomorrow. Yeah, I want to see.
and you know it's a 700 plus seat auditorium, and it sold out 5 performances.
Wow.
They produced a program book, but it's 110 pages thick because that Regional Board of Education doesn't underwrite these productions, so they are self-supporting and self-support ed, or it was the project. Anyway, it's all the community has wrapped its arms around these productions, and I think the community is rewarded by the quality of them. So anyway, In the Heights, 3 more nights this weekend.
Susan?
I went to the police commission, and the ride that we got notice of is actually one of 3 rides that are taking place over the next month or so. That's what, in the capacity as traffic authority. There was some personnel matters, including the fact that someone who had been at the academy is now back on the force in full. So he was there, and everybody said hello. And I think there was a discussion about how best to think through some of the discussion that happened here at the Board of Selectmen. And that's it. And the CCW canceled their meeting on the 24th.
Thank you. Economic Development Commission met on March 27th and heard from UI about the Connecticut Main Street program and other economic development services, and they may be following up on some of that to learn more. And they will be sending a letter to local businesses, again promoting the EDC website, and also thanking those businesses who participated in the breakfast and the launch of the website. So with that, seeing no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
It's a non-debatable motion.
Correct.
And
That's
nobody,
two-thirds vote.
why does the municipality cross the road?
Thank you, everyone. We got through a very full agenda in good time.
We were really, I thought